How's it going, guys? Sam here. So I'm just going to talk through some tips for busy professionals. So if you work long hours, or you've got a stressful job, or even for people that aren't necessarily working as well, you might have kids, you might have a lot of demands on your time. So how do you fit training sessions in? What's the best way to approach it sustainably without taking too much time out of your life? It's something that I've come across quite a lot over the years with clients that I've trained. A lot of people that I've trained and currently train, quite busy professionals, so they're either senior management or they've got their own business, very busy, and also can get quite stressed out as well. So what are the best approaches in terms of training and to get the best out of your training and recovery? So one of the things first of all to look at is perspective. So, if you consider, you hear quite a lot of people saying, I haven't got time to do this, I haven't got time to train, I'm too busy, I've got work, I've got kids, I've got, other commitments, things like this. So really, when you look at it actually, you look at the week and you've actually got 168 hours in the week. So if you actually break that down and you actually take, say, 3 hours out of that, so say if you're going to train for 3 hours a week, you've committed for 3 hours a week, that's actually still only it's less than 2% of the week. So you've still actually, the big picture, you've got 98% of the week to do everything else that you need to do. So when you look at it that way, what other things can you do? Say if you are busy, you haven't got much time, you're always on the go. What other things can you do to actually create that 2% time? So just little things like reducing time on TV and social media. I'm guilty of it myself. I spend probably more time than I need to on social media. I don't watch too much TV, but I know a lot of people watch TV, to wind down, which is quite important as well. But yeah, it's looking at it from that point of view. So if you commit to 3 1-hour sessions a week or 2 1.5-hour sessions per week, that's a decent amount of training, and that's probably not much more than what I would suggest for the majority of people. So 3 hours a week, that's 2% of your week. You've got 98% of the time to do everything else that you need to do. So another thing as well, that mindset as well. So how can we make it a priority appointment? So to get in the gym, so how can you make that a priority? So I think when it comes to a lot of people in business as well, they often prioritise important things, important tasks that need to be done in business, and rightly so. You're making your living, you've got to prioritise those things. But actually, that mindset of looking at, hang on, how about myself? In order to be able to give, my 100% at work, you've got to look after yourself as well. So what are you going to do to create that time for yourself? So you actually look at it from the point of view of, I've got these 3 appointments per week. It might be Monday, Wednesday, Friday, just 1 hour on each of those days, where you're actually going to dedicate an hour on each of those days to yourself. So it's looking at the actual benefits and having that compelling goal. So, and it's looking at how that relates to your job as well and what you do. Say if you're 100% committed to your job and improving with your career, how can training actually benefit this as well? So from the point of view of training, if you're coming in and training, that's actually going to increase your energy levels, it's going to improve your mood, it's going to improve your productivity as well. If you're giving that time to yourself to have that little bit of time out of work to come in and actually work on yourself and improve yourself, then it's actually going to transfer over to actually performing better in the workplace as well. So yeah, increased energy levels, improved productivity, you've got feel-good hormones, endorphins, so you actually feel a lot better having trained. Even if you've just trained for an hour, you feel a lot better for it, and a lot more confident as well. If you're moving better, you're looking better, you're feeling better, you're going to go into work in a lot better shape, a lot better frame of mind to actually perform the tasks you need to perform. Because you do find that if you're in that rut of not doing any training, no physical activity, you kind of go through, I've been there before with it, where I've gone quite long periods without training, you do feel lethargic, you feel like you've got a loss of motivation, you don't feel as productive. So it's actually taking a step back to take 2 steps forwards from that point of view. Also from the point of view of improved health as well, if you're not giving yourself that time to work on your health, to boost your strength, cardio endurance, it could lead to more sick days, if you're not actually taking care of yourself as well. So from the point of view of, even if you're just focused on being productive at work, if you put that training in there and you're looking after your nutrition, your lifestyle, you're giving yourself that me time, you're going to actually have less sick days. Well, the chances of you having less sick days are going to be, by far increased, which in turn will lead to more productivity, more work. Also as well, what I've found with quite a few people I've trained over the years as well, people are in quite highly stressed jobs now. So again, it comes back to that me time. If you're constantly in work mode, and I've seen it with a few people as well, you can actually burn out from this, especially in today's age of, constant emails. You've got that smartphone on you at all times, so you've got 24/7 emails coming through, WhatsApps. It's, very difficult to shut off from that. So I think if you do have that, 2-3 hours of training, or whatever it is, even another hobby, something that's active, that gets you out and about and switched off. Really, really important actually to zone out of that, to manage stress. So not only from the point of view of, having that time out, but focusing on something else to actually improve your health and fitness as well. I think that's something that will, take your mind off work. It gives you that hobby, something else outside of work as well. So, if you're in a job, especially if you're in a job where, it might pay very well, but you might not be 100% passionate about it, it's very draining. So having that time out can actually give you that, a little bit of me time, a little bit of time away. And it's quite good to practice this mindfulness as well. Sometimes people can be they'll come into the gym and they'll train, but they're still kind of in work mode. They'll be talking about work. Very difficult to switch off from it, but I think if you do really immerse yourself in the training and get serious with it and focus on the exercises, what you need to do, it can take your mind off that stress, and it can help to relieve stress as well. And it's just looking at it from the point of view of having it as an investment in yourself. So if you're giving yourself those 3 hours, slot those 3 hours in, put them in your diary, they're in your diary, they're rigid. It's, again, come back to that, it's 2% of your week, you've got to keep those appointments in there. They're very important appointments. Think of them from the point of view of, if you're in business, do an important meeting with a client, that's going to sign up. You wouldn't cancel those appointments, you'd do your best to stick to those appointments. So see it from the point of view of investing in yourself, and that'll give you that extra bit of motivation to get in and not cancel on yourself. So we've looked at the mindset, so the next bit, we're looking at scheduling as well. So this is something you see, it's finding out what time of the day works well for the individual. So we're looking at, a lot of people like to get in before they go to work. So if you're a morning person, if you prefer going to bed early, getting up early, that's something that could work quite well for you. It's probably not optimal in terms of getting the most out of your training, because if it's early in the morning, you're still going to be waking up. You're not going to have the best energy potentially, certainly from the point of view of lifting heavy weights, it's not going to be optimal. However, if you are an early person, if you're a morning person, that's going to be something that's going to work around your schedule. You can get it in, get it done, and then it sets you up for the rest of the day. You've got that thing checked off, you've got your training checked off, you've got the rest of the day to commit to your work, your family, all the other commitments. If you've got the luxury of being able to train in the afternoon, I would say this is optimal. If you do have that luxury, if you're self-employed, if you can nip away from work, you might work from the morning through to the evening, but you might have that gap in the middle. I'm quite fortunate myself to be able to do this as well. I usually have clients in the morning, I'll have a bit of time in the afternoon, and I feel quite good actually. I feel like I've woken up, I've had a good couple of meals, I've got good energy levels. It's not at the end of the day where I'm feeling too tired. I can get that training in the middle of the day and then I can go back to work, and I'll feel energised for the rest of the day, for the rest of the evening. But I do know for the majority of people it's in the evenings which can be quite challenging. So you've had a full day at work, you might have been working 9 to 5, you might be feeling pretty tired. So I think the majority of people will train in the evenings, and it's just trying to manage that as best as possible. So one of the things that I would suggest is having something to eat before you leave work, ideally if you can. So if you're scheduled to train at 6 p.m, if you can eat something at around 4 o'clock, something just to give you that bit of energy, that's going to be something that will help you in terms of that training session to prepare for it. So yeah, just talking about times. So everyone's going to be different, you know, depending on their schedule and their preferences as well. So it's trying to figure out when is best to train and then schedule in those days in. Another thing that I think is important as well, something that can really help, is scheduling one of the days on a weekend if you can. So again, it's only going to be an hour, a couple of hours out of your day on the weekend. But I feel personally my best training days are on my day off on a Saturday. I feel like the best training sessions I've ever had have been on the day where I've had a day off. Purely because you can get the rest you need, you can kind of you can plan your nutrition. You don't need to be running around, you know, to and from work. You can kind of stagger everything as you need. You can prepare for it. You can feel fresh. You can eat well. So having that one day a week at least of training on a weekend, I think is a good habit. Because I know a lot of people just train, you know, Monday to Friday. You know, they'll go home when they're tired after work, and you're not always going to get the best out of your training, in my opinion. So having one day, whether it's a Saturday or Sunday or on your day off, to have a training day on that day, I think is something that's going to really help, because you can really push yourself. You can be in a recovered, relaxed frame of mind as well, because I think when you've been at work all day stressed out, that can affect your performance as well. So if you're in kind of weekend mode, you've switched off from work, you can take your time, have some food, prepare for it, prepare everything you need. You can go into the gym relaxed. You can just switch off from work and you can just focus on your training. And you'd be surprised, you know, how good those sessions can be. You know, if you don't train on a weekend, that's something that you can try and factor in around everything else, your social life, your family life. And again, it only comes back to that, you know, it's 2% of the time. So it's not going to take a huge chunk out. You can get it in the morning. You've got the rest of the weekend to spend with your family or do whatever it is you need to do. Cool. Another thing as well is setting up a garage gym might be a good option for a lot of people. So if you live quite far away from a gym, or you know, if you're struggling to get into the gym, out of the gym, if it's that time traveling to and from, getting ready, investing in a garage gym, it doesn't have to be anything like this or, you know, anything elaborate to start with. I just started off with a barbell, a bar and a squat stand, that's it, and just a concrete floor. And then I acquired a few plates as well, a few old plates that I got from the gym, you know, when they kicked them out of the gym. So that's what I started off with, and it was enough. You know, that's all you need really to start with, and then you gradually build it up. Because it can be costly to build a garage gym, but start small, gradually build up the equipment that you've got. You just need the basics: squat stand, a barbell, some plates, maybe a few dumbbells. And then after that you're looking at some rubber flooring, maybe a platform. You can make one of those for a lot cheaper than you can buy them as well. So that's something to look at, because you can just kind of, on a weekend, you can get in there, get your training done, get out, an hour's gone, you've not got to travel anywhere, you're not going to travel there, you've not going to travel back. So you can get it done, get in and out, and get on with the rest of your weekend. Other things to look at as well, personal training, small group training. So I know that's something from speaking to clients that I've trained. It gives them that accountability to be able to come in. You know, if you've got that appointment scheduled with a PT, you've got it locked in with someone else, you've got an appointment with someone else as well. So that's something that can help you commit to coming into the training sessions. And just general things like extra activity that you do, walking, housework. You know, you can listen to podcasts. You know, if you're into learning things, one of the things I've started to do is listen to podcasts while I'm doing things around the house, housework and whatnot. Because I always feel like when I'm doing housework, I'm wasting time. I could be either training, learning something. But I think audio, listening to podcasts, that's something that will actually help. Because you feel like you're actually doing, You're doing two things at once. You're getting stuff done, boring jobs that need doing around the house done, but at the same time you're consuming content that's going to help you, whether it's in business, training, whatever it is. And it's that mindfulness, coming back to mindfulness as well, focusing on your training during those 3 hours. So again, that 2% of the week, if you can, try and focus on what it is that you're doing, the training that you're doing. And that will really help you to take your mind off work. It'll help you to zone out of it just for those, those 2-3 hours a week. And it'll really help you in terms of your performance for your training. And it'll help you to reduce stress levels as well doing that. And then also just looking at long-term goals. So if you're just getting started, if you're just thinking about coming into it, what's the actual thing that you want to get from this? So for a lot of people in work, it's again coming back to stress levels and health. It can impact upon your health. If you're always feeling stressed out and you find it difficult to kind of zone out, focus on something else. It does give you that other focus. It comes back to that. But then also it'll give you something else to strive towards and take seriously as well. So especially, I think it's quite transferable. If you're someone that's been quite successful in business, or, if you're a senior manager, if you've done well within a company, you're doing well financially, professionally, you're doing very well, or you've set up your own business and you're very successful, you've already got the tools it needs to be successful in training as well. Because the commitment levels that it takes, the mental attitude that it takes to be able to be successful. I think you can also apply that to your training as well. So you've actually got the tools to be able to be successful. So you know what it takes to set goals. If you're doing it professionally, if you're used to doing it professionally, it applies exactly the same in the gym. So whether it's setting goals for fat loss, to get stronger, just to feel better, look better, to get leaner, all of these things, it's transferable qualities. So actually you're in a good position to be able to move forwards with your training from that point of view. So setting those goals, putting those appointments in 3 hours a week, that's optimal as well. A lot of people ask me, how often should I train? And for someone like myself, I'm passionate about training. I would train every day of the week, if I had the opportunity, and I do aim to train 5 to 6 times per week. But I know for a lot of people it's just not possible, and it's going to take away from the rest of the life. So I do believe that 3 times per week, 3 hours a week is optimal for the majority of people. People that are quite busy and just want to fit the training in around the lifestyle. So yes, 3. I think you can get some good results from 3 sessions a week as well. If you're training hard, if you're working the whole body, you can actually get in 3 sessions a week. All you need to do really is focus on the compound exercises as well, strength training. So a typical program for, if you're training 3 times a week, a typical training program. So you do 3 or 4 compound lifts. So you might do a squat, for example, back squat. You might do military press. You might do bent over row. So 3 exercises, doing lots of sets, lots of reps, as much as you can. If you're only training twice a week, you can push the volume up because you're gonna have that extra recovery. 3 times per week. I would take 3 exercises, do 3 exercises on one day. Say if it's a Monday, so you might do squat, military press, bent over row. On the Tuesday, you might do deadlift, you might do bench press, and then you might do pull up, for example. So that's an example of 2 sessions that you might do. And it doesn't take much time to do those. You'll be able to do those quite easily, in less than an hour. So you might even have a bit of time left over to do a little bit at the end. So working on weaknesses. So you might put in, if you've got a weak back or you need to improve your posture, you might put in some mobility for the thoracic spine, followed by some, you might do some reverse flies on top of that. And then also adding in a little bit of conditioning. So it might be some farmer's walks and a little bit of core as well on top of that to finish. I think that's quite a good structure. So to summarise, a good training session, 3-4 compound lifts. So you might do back squat, military press, bent over row. In terms of sets and reps, that can vary. That's for another podcast. We'll talk about that in another podcast. And then you might put in some areas to work on weaknesses. So it might be upper back. So it might be reverse fly, and some foam rolling, some mobility in between the sets as well, in between your rest periods to get the most out of your rest periods. And then some conditioning, so farmer's walks might be a good one to do. And a little bit of core, so you might say do some dead bugs, some pal-off presses. And then you'd be able to get that done in an hour, quite a lot of work in an hour. And if you progressively overload him, gradually increasing the intensity over time, with that adequate recovery, if you're getting enough sleep, you're managing stress, and your nutrition's on point, then you're going to see some really good results from that. So yeah, those are the main points again. So it's looking at that, getting the 2% in, 2% of the week, that's all it is. Where can you look at reducing, that other dead time that you've got, whether it's social media, watching TV, any other dead time that you've got where you could be productive. And then, just looking at the other bits, making it a priority, putting those appointments in the diary, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, for example, or on the weekend. Again, that's another thing as well, putting that one weekend session in. Just looking at making it that compelling goal, reduce stress, increased energy, improve confidence. All these things are going to improve your productivity and reduce the potential for sick days as well. Giving yourself that me time, scheduling it in, AM, middle of the day, PM, when's best for you, when's it going to work around your lifestyle. Thinking about if you have got a space, whether it's a garage or a spare room where you can set up, you don't need much room. So you can see here, this squat stand doesn't really take up much room. You just need, a metre by 2 metres, a metre, but maybe a little bit longer. You need that, the barbell's just over 2 metres, so you maybe need 2.5 metres wide by, a metre to 2 metres to do, the main compound lift. You don't need a massive amount of room. Ceiling height's a consideration as well. I've not got the greatest ceiling height in here, but there's other variations you can do for overhead movements. You can do half kneeling, seated pressing, so you can still challenge the muscles of the shoulders as well. So you don't need too much room. Increasing that NEAT as well, so daily activity, whether it's walking further, doing housework, listening to podcasts at the same time, meal prep, that's another thing as well. Prepping meals, you're going to be on your feet. It's increasing that activity overall, just day to day, and then just being mindful in your training as well, focusing on the exercise. Just focus 100% on the exercises that you're doing at the time, and that's going to have the most transfer. It's going to, you're going to zone out from your work. You're going to reduce stress levels. It's going to have that overall benefit. And having those long-term goals as well. Can you transfer, what's made you successful in your career? The likelihood is you're going to set goals along the way. You're going to be very good at setting and executing goals, very strategic. And it's exactly the same with your training as well. To be successful in your training, you need to take it seriously. You need to have a plan. What's your long-term goals? What do you want to get out of the training? And then also it's taking a step back from that. I spoke last time on the actual process as well. Enjoy the process. It's going to be difficult. You're going to be pushing yourself. You're going to be trying to get better. So it's going to be uncomfortable, but that's all part of the process. So, hope these tips have helped anyone, even if there's one or two things there to take from what I've mentioned there. Hopefully it's been of value.